Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious, back in the bunker. Purple State Party, second take. You know what we represent. All things America, the middle, and common sense. And just to show you that I'm a fun guy, we're going to start out with good news. Good news for some people, not so good news for other people. Especially if you're Gavin Newsom. Because the recall got its signatures. They're going to get more. Because all of a sudden, California's going to care about signature verification. Not like in the national election where they didn't really care about stuff like that. They were like, too much. But in this one, they're going to. But they're set to get, 2 million. They only need 1.5 million. They already got it. And that's somebody signing a petition, I mean, I happened upon an event, so I kind of lucked out. I just walked into one. Boom. But it looks like he's going to more than likely be gone. And I'm not, I may be a little crazy, but I'm not crazy enough to think that we're going to get a Republican here, or that the Democrats will lose their stranglehold on California. No. But I like standing up to the government and saying enough is enough. And I wish the country as a whole could see it. I mean, all you have to do is look at California. You see what they want to do. You see what they've done and how poorly it worked out. Because it hasn't. The sunshine ain't from the governor, we get really hot in the summer and we can't keep the electricity running. Because unlike other states that use nuclear power, and hydroelectric and, all these other, seriously, some states, all they need is the hydroelectric and the nuclear reactors, But we are a shining example of how you can dress a turd up, and some people might believe it's not a turd anymore. Second bit of good news, we already knew Trump was going to be, he was going to be acquitted of those silly charges. And who really shouldn't be acquitted of those silly charges is all the people involved in doing them. They knew that legally he didn't incite anybody. They knew that it was stupid to impeach a president who was being voted out. They could have just stopped, but they didn't. It was personal. They had their personal reasons for it, which would be fine if we weren't in the middle of a giant health crisis, economic jobs. Hope. That's what they're wasting their time on. I don't know who paid them. I certainly, if I was running a company, I wouldn't want to pay my workers for just doing silly ass nonsense. Pay the forklift drivers to just have races around the warehouse. No. The people are there to work and they're not working. Third bit of good news, McDonald's is bringing back the high C. I miss that stuff, man. I remember when I went there one day and I got the orange. I was all feeling nostalgic and shit, and it's been changed. They just had some other orange. This is whatever. Good news. Well, of course, in the world of politics, which unfortunately we're living in right now, whether we like it or not, it's basically bad news. I don't fear global warming. I fear global government. This map illustrates, these are population densities, So, you look at California and Spain. So Spain, a big chunk. It's a pretty big chunk of Europe over there. But, everybody likes to hold up Sweden and Finland. And look, they're all over the map. I mean, Finland is about the population density of Oregon, and Sweden is about the population density of Arizona, one of those places that gets hot and can keep the electricity going and cheap. But what this illustrates is that their solutions wouldn't work. And one of the reasons why it wouldn't work is because unlike places like Finland where they're mostly all Finns and they all think alike, and this is for the most part what they've sort of agreed upon, they have the types of programs in government that they have. Okay? A lot of people over there are perfectly fine, giving up a lot of money so that other people can have what they have. That's fine, okay. But as you can see, their population density is about the same as Oregon. So while that might work in one state, it's not going to work on a national level. We have too many people here. And we don't all think alike. We're not all on the same page. And that was step one of the socialist program. Because you got to understand, the left has been trying this for a while. They frame it different ways depending on what's going on that decade. This year they just decided to get really aggro because everything went aggro. And it was easy to whip everybody up to hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. No good reason. I mean, until the pandemic hit, our economy was booming. Jobs were through the roof. But whatever. They smeared him and then they just went full leftist on us. And one of the first steps to controlling people is eradicating their history, their shared history. And it's uber important here. I mean, let's be honest here. Our history started because we were ruled by England. They were making laws and collecting taxes, taxation without representation, which is similar to what we're at right now. Especially if you, like me, are not on the left. I'm not left of center. I'm trying to be center. Red, white, and blue. You put them all together, you get purple. Might be violet, I don't know. But violet sounds violent, and I'd rather have purple. But that's where our history started, man. In the War of 1812, we had a fight to keep our country. Because the British came back, the French came back, a bunch of people were over here again, and there was a war, and the war, that's where we get our Star Spangled Banner. My fucking NBA, doesn't even want to have a national anthem anymore. And people speculate that maybe it's because he's tired of the kneeling. That's fine, I guess, but I would rather have people kneel than not play it at all. Okay? And I gave up. The NBA is just it's not welcome here. It's not welcome in my life. Not welcome. They made their point about Hong Kong. They sided with the Chinese. I don't want to have anything to do with them because I'm not a Republican. I'm an American. The national anthem is the national anthem. That's what it is, and whatever. That was War of 1812. And we're being forced again into that. And that's why, the attack on the Second Amendment starts again. Because once you eradicate that history, so people don't bond together over what it means, the blood of the patriots is still in here, man. You could say I was indoctrinated. You could say I was brainwashed. In 1976, the Patriots became my favorite team because they had a Minuteman. I went back there, man. I've stood on those hollow grounds. I've been there where the Revolutionary War was fought. I've been there where the Civil War was fought. Man, America bleeds in me, man, and I'm going to pass that down. And they know that that's why this exists. The Second Amendment exists. The fact that the government would even consider repealing the Second Amendment is the very reason for which it was written. And look, you talk about muskets if you would like, but, I don't want to get off on this rant. But if you, really quickly, they were the same weapons that the soldiers had. So, all this poppycock about, we shouldn't have these types and this and that accessory and this capacity is all a bunch of malarkey. Worry about the criminals. Gascon won't even add a gun enhancement to criminal charges. And you expect me to believe now that somehow if I carry 11 rounds in a gun, it's going to make me a criminal, but you're not going to do anything about people who use guns criminally. Why don't you sort that shit out, Chicago? You sort that out, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, other big cities, but Baltimore. You sort out the criminal use of guns, and then we start worrying about front hand grips, okay? because they're gonna push too far. Trust me, because they're already roped in. They're eroding the history. Washington's bad, Lincoln's bad. Remove their names from schools so we forget our history. Next, they're going to go after the guns. Now they have to control it. All the spin. They can't see these dissenters. People voicing opinions say, hey, wait a minute here. Facebook is going to tone down politics on platform in coming weeks. Isn't that convenient? Your guy's in office, so you're going to regulate that. The spirit of America should live in companies like Facebook. You should not be so terrified that your side is so wrong that you have to hide it from people going, hey, wait a minute. And why is it so wrong? Because first of all, a lot of it is un-American. And second of all, it lacks common sense. And third, it's not in the middle. It's not American what they're doing. They're pitting us against each other by making this PC culture where it's just, they want us in little corners. They want us so scared of anybody that's different than us. Why else would the cancel culture exist? I understand. You got to put down people who are preaching hate and preaching the bad shit. But the ticky-tack, the attempts at humor, stuff like that, heat of the moment, come on, man. Whatever. But they're not going to. They don't have the spirit of America on Facebook. So they're going to ban free speech. You know? So is Instagram. But this is what you do. See, it's beyond. The state can't control the media right now like they do in other countries. We just didn't set it up that way. You know? So the government controls the publishers. And that's what Facebook and Instagram have become, the editors, the publishers. They decide what gets published or not. This is supposed to be a platform where people can say what they want to say. Obviously within limits. Bullying. Just shit that's straight up nasty. But labeling dissension about the election, come on. This election was very suspect. We had rampant mail-in ballots, just willy-nilly. Vote up to 10 times on each device. Come on. I mean, at least acknowledge that people's skepticism is not an incitement to violence. It's skeptical. It is what it is, man. You know, but they don't want us reminding people, for example, that Pelosi said in 2017, our election was hijacked. There is no question. Congress has a duty to hashtag protect our democracy and hashtag follow those facts, or the facts. So I don't understand that they set the standard. And to be honest with you, okay. In retrospect, I guess, I voted in the middle. I voted for some other party. Maybe the Libertarians, I don't know. Some independent party, I've forgotten now. But I just wanted to see a third party get into the debates. I was hoping they'd get enough votes and get in, because I didn't care about those candidates. Are you kidding me? Trump or Clinton? I really wasn't on board either way. Trump won me over. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. Try not to lie. Biden revoked money to the United Negro College Fund for historically black colleges. He did that with an executive order. They say they're going to replace it with something more, but they simply removed it because it was Trump's, and it just shows you that it's a personal vendetta. They didn't need to do that. They could have just increased it. They didn't need to be petty, but they are only about themselves. They're not about you. Look at Antifa. They're out protesting still. They were used and cast aside. BLM was cast aside. I already saw it coming, but whatever. But here's a prime example of what they are doing, that is extremely detrimental and really not fair play, because you look at this post, if Kamala Harris is responsible for grandparents owning slaves, then nobody else is either. That's how equality works. All right, okay. But it was fact-checked. It was missing context. Okay? I think it's pretty complete in what it says. I mean, if it says what it says. But they used a fact check from another post to say that this is not an inconvenient part of our history. or a deep, dark secret that could come back to haunt her. Well, why don't you ask George Washington or Jefferson or Lincoln or any of the other people who had their names stripped from schools in San Francisco to be replaced by woke? It was an inconvenient part of their history. Why is it an inconvenient part of her history? And what does the Post have anything to do with a deep, dark secret or an inconvenient? They're just simply saying, wait a minute. The rules need to apply evenly across the board. Whether or not you like Trump, how you voted, I don't care. Okay? You got to think about this. There cannot be one set of rules for the politicians. Okay? I understand they've got money and they can buy their way out of trouble. Fine. Lots of people can do that. You know, maybe not you, maybe not me, but lots of people can do that. Whew. God, the edibles really kicked in now. I'm on my second take, man. Woo. I'm now on a full-on roller coaster. Wow. Don't even remember where I was. But you can't have double standards. You know, especially when you're just using double standards to try to destroy American history. You know, there's a big debate about the best strategy for reopening schools. It's a pretty complicated topic, but here's my idea. Unlock the doors, say school is open, fire teachers who refuse to work. I never thought, as son of two teachers, that I would be on the side of the police more than I am on the teachers. Never thought that would happen. I never thought that would flip-flop in the old tiered list. You know? Apparently that's what's happened. But that's why and that goes against the union. That makes the union, the teachers union, look bad. So this is the kind of stuff that needs to be said, though. You know, the science supports kids going back to school. It does not in any way support them staying home. In fact, the science says that it's detrimental for children, especially young ones. Can you imagine, think back, what it'd be like if you had to do your first days of kindergarten online? Like, man, come on. But this is the shit. Right now, they're not removing this, but at some point they will. They'll just say, oh, it's inciting violence. Creating an atmosphere where people will get mad at other people, and we want to protect those people. You know, they want to cover up this kind of stuff. You know, if they limit the flow and we don't know about these things, then we're just going to have, like, advanced shitheads along the way. Best thing about the recall of Gavin Newsom is that it's going to stop the Getty and other rich Soros-type people from their puppet. Little puppet man Gavin. He's a puppet. And we can't have all of our politicians being puppets of these corporations. I don't understand how on the left you guys support the fact that corporations are now puppeting. You've got these billionaires puppeting politicians. Gavin Newsom didn't want the job. He's a poster boy, man. They said, oh, he looks presidential. That's what they said. They just want their people in there so they can do what they want. You know? They use this. If this turns out, historians are going to look back on this and go, "Oh my God, the greatest overreaction in history." We literally sank the ship over a hole in the sail. We were like, "Oh, she's going down." Everybody abandoned ship. One guy was like, "Wait a minute, it's just a little hole in the sail. We're not going to sink." And they're like, "You've been censored. We're leaving the boat." And then they die on a deserted island after having to eat themselves. Ugh, that turned dark, didn't it? You know, they banned Gina Carano from Mandalorian. Disney. And I get it. I understand. Maybe she was sort of making Disney look bad. I get that argument, but she was saying that in a personal capacity. I mean, hey, last week we had the head of the CDC saying you should open up schools. Boom. And she said it right in front of the logo as a CDC expert and head of the CDC. And the Biden Saki chick comes out and she says, that was her personal capacity. So why isn't this Gina's personal capacity? See, let's figure out the rules, apply them to everybody, and then we can move forward. But this is what they're trying to do. They want to vilify the people that oppose them. And they're going to do it in this way, firing people for something that is actually true. Nazi Germany was able to do what it did because it did prep work, man. And that the prep work is what we're seeing. The control of the media, the censorship of dissenters, turning everybody against certain people. I mean, you got a bunch of rich white people saying, hey, America, it's all white people's fault. And they're the people who are still ruling. Think about that for a second. Whitey's bad. Just disregard the fact that I'm white also. I mean, come on. You're not really buying that. So that gets us to the end of the episode. Take 2 turned out all right, man. I think I pulled it off. But Bronco, he's one of my favorites. I mean, I guess he's one of the few out there that sees it the same way I do, I guess. I don't know. I don't see a lot of them, but his are good. He does good artwork. But I like, checking in with Larry Elder right there. Again, oh, wait a minute. This guy votes Republican and he follows a black guy. Yeah. Because it's purple. Keep that in mind, purple. All right? I mean, but anyhow, here we go. You've been charged, tried, and convicted for the offense of being Trump. Yeah. And that sums it up. Because that's all it was. He derailed their plans for 4 years and set them back and exposed things like the swamp. You wonder why Republicans voted against him? Look at that. That tells you everything. On both sides of the fence, Democrat and Republican, look at that. Those people voted on this stupid charade of an impeachment. They voted to convict him for their own personal gain so that they could navigate the political world, man. But this was just petty from the beginning. It was petty, and the Democrats knew it. They knew they didn't have a chance to do it. And instead of worrying about us, they worried about themselves. And I don't see how people are siding with that side. Because you're not on that side. It might make you feel warm and fuzzy, but they're coming for you next. That's just the way it is, man. First the dissenters, then the next level. It's just the way it works. Life is a tier list, and politics is no different. Copious out.